Hi everyone, Morphy here. I'm delighted to have with me today Ethan Micheal, the Friendly Neighborhood Atheist.
You're Friendly Neighborhood Atheist.
Okay. I was, extremely delighted when you agreed to come on. And at the time, I didn't realise that you just went on every channel, up to 4 a day. I thought I was being privileged.
You were. No, I love doing this. So, of course, I'm going to say yes. Like, this is a lot of fun for me. So, yeah, I don't think I don't think I would say no to anybody. So, sorry.
I'm just going to say to any of my subscribers who haven't subscribed to Ethan's channel, check it out. There's lots and lots of content on there. He has lots of good discussions, and you should be going over there and subscribing.
Thank you.
So, Ethan, how long have you been running the channel for?
I started it 3 months ago when I finally got my friend Larry the Christian to debate me. And from there, we first did it in a private WebEx meeting. And then he found StreamYard so we could do it live. And just from there, I was like, got to create a channel. And it just, I literally did not expect any of this to happen. It was just like, hey, cool, I'll debate my friend. And then I just moved on to a pre-sup. And then I started reaching out to people. People reached out to me. And then before I knew it, it was working.
Yeah, you've had some really good guests. I saw the Vila Bianca interview. That was, in fact, that was straight after I'd had Eric Murphy on. And I was talking about your background and how your background looks like their background. And I thought you were just in their studio. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and I'd had Eric on, and he said to me, "Oh, I've got to go because V's going to move into this seat to talk to you."
Yep. And that's where I got the idea for this. I was like, I got to do something. I'm like, that's simple and easy. So I did that. And then I haven't got the lighting figured out yet, but I got red lights up there. I got red lights down there. So I'm trying to get the lighting right. So you'll see like the cool lights in the background, but I haven't figured it out yet.
It's all an incremental process. I've had a lot of issues with my sound because I alter my voice and try to sound like I've sniffed helium, and it introduced a lot of extra artifacts that were distracting some people. So I put a lot more filters in for this interview. I tried the sound out on a few of my friends yesterday, and they all said it sounded better. So hopefully we've got better sound in this interview when we go.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Ethan, very briefly, because I know you've gone through your story on your channel and in various other interviews, but briefly, how did you get from where you were to where you are?
Are we talking about atheism, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, because you were a believer at one time.
Yes.
And now you're an atheist. So how was that journey for you?
So yeah, I have to summarize it a little bit just because I'll be doing an interview with Neil 604, so I'm giving him my full deconversion story. But
I'm on with Neil in a couple of weeks' time as well, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually just going to. No, I'm not going to give it away. You'll have to watch.
Okay. Let's just say, looking back, I was a believer and I didn't have a good reason for it. And when I learned that I didn't have a good reason, for me, it was actually really easy. Like, I don't have this crazy experience where I went through all these, like, I didn't feel loss. I just was like, wow, this person made a good point. Essentially, it started with hearing a certain someone say, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? And then listening to the problems with the arguments. And I think the final thing that did it was when this person said, I don't know is not a good reason to believe in God. And at that moment, I was like, holy shit, I've been doing that. Sorry. Crap. um, crap. I've been doing that my whole life. I've been literally just believing in God because I didn't have an explanation. And from there, it was just like everything else just went away. It took me a little bit of time to get over my fear of nothing, like fear of dying. Now, granted, I don't want to die, but I no longer am like terrified of it. I'm just like, hey, this is my life. I got to live it as best as I can. So
yeah,
I was one of the lucky ones.
I think the thing that always gets me with dying is the idea that I'm going to miss out on stuff. You know, it's what I'm going to miss out on rather than the actual dying. You know, there's things that's going to happen after I die that I really would have liked to have seen and stuff like that.
I agree. Like, I don't like the idea that I may never in my lifetime find out if aliens exist or not. Like, I want to know that stuff. Like, I want to know the secrets of the universe, but I'm probably not going to live long enough to know all those things. So I don't like the idea of missing out on all that knowledge.
Yeah, that's the thing. But then again, nobody's ever come back and told us this knowledge. So
no, that's true.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed with all of the interviews that I've watched of yours, and I'm going to watch a lot more. But
thank you.
As I talk to more and more people on the show, I find that most of them have got a back catalogue, and now I've got a back catalogue of back catalogues that I've got to watch. You know. But I'm planning to watch some because I usually watch video while I'm training because I've got home gym equipment here. I've got more gym equipment now than I had before COVID. But when they closed the gyms down, I acquired some home gym equipment, and I was going to go for a run earlier. I said to you I was going for a run, and I'd send you a link when I was ready for the interview. And I came out, and like you, I've got cats. You've got one cat, haven't you?
Yes,
I look after rescue cats, so I'm never really sure how many I've got. But so I came out to go on my treadmill, and one of my cats was asleep on it. So
really,
I went out for a run in the rain instead. I didn't want to disturb the cat.
Oh wow! See, I thought I spoiled my cat. I'm the same way. Like, I don't want to wake him up. I better tiptoe around the house. Like, it's our cats are definitely our babies.
My wife was showing me yesterday. There's a meme. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like she believed she could do it type meme, or she thought she could do it. And there was one that she showed me that said she thought she could do it, but her cat was asleep on her lap, so she didn't.
Wow.
So, that was a good one. So I was saying about your interviews, and then I went off on a tangent somewhere.
Oh, that's okay. I do the same thing all the time. I asking me to focus is like right now, for example, I'm used to I'm looking at the StreamYard's StreamYard layout, and I'm used to like doing the comments, controlling everything. So since I'm not doing that now, my eyes keep going to the side, looking for the comments, getting ready to respond. I'm like, I can't do anything. Focus on the camera.
I've noticed that you even type in the comments while you're doing the show. It's incredible.
Yes.
And it doesn't look like you're typing, because when I'm typing, I'm like looking down at the keyboard, but you're still engaged in the conversation and comments come up on the side.
It's the advantage of ADHD. You can do so many things at once. Like I can type really, really fast without looking. So that works to my advantage.
Yeah, my wife can do that too. So coming back to your interviews and things on your channel, you've got the friendly approach. So where did the friendly approach come from? And what is it? Just your natural personality, or did you just feel that a different approach was needed?
I think it's a bit of both. Overall, I'm a I'm a pretty like laid back, friendly dude. And to me, the approaches that work now, granted, we need all varieties of approaches because every different type gets through to different people. But to me, when you develop a rapport first, when you get the person to respect you and respect you as a person, they are way more likely to listen to what you have to say. And I feel like I've already seen that working because even on my, like, I started this on my personal Facebook page, and I've had many people who like actually like hated my views reach out to me and be like, wow, I really love what you're doing. I'm supportive, and I keep watching your content. And it's like, that's awesome. Like the fact that I have Muslim friends watching my content, Christian friends watching my content, like all different types, and supporting it just to me shows that I am taking the right approach, because I have people who fundamentally disagreeing with me enjoying what I'm doing. And then they are more likely to, in my opinion, listen to what I have to say and maybe take my recommendations where I can point them to better sources for more information. Because I'm not a knowledgeable person. Like you put me, if you've seen me debate, it's not my area. If you've seen me, I'm no Eric Murphy or Matt Dillahunty or, you know, the list goes on. Vila Bianca, Jenna Belk. I can't do what they can do, but I think I'm pretty good at getting people to at least to a starting point of actually hearing what I have to say. And then with time, I can hopefully point them in better directions where they could learn more from other people. So yeah, I guess to answer your question, I'm a friendly dude. And I also very much believe this is the way to get through to people, because I don't know. I don't know how else to put it. But yeah, the friendly approach is what you'll get. You'll rarely see me not be friendly unless it becomes like a serious humanitarian issue. Like I recently did a video with a friend on the things that have been happening in America. For example, with George Floyd and how he was murdered by the cop. And was
that the knee on the neck thing?
Yes.
That I saw this week. And I saw that on the TV, and I was just sickened. I was actually just picking up takeaway food, and it was on the TV, and I looked at it, and I hadn't heard about it, and I was just standing there with my mouth open. I was like, what the fuck is that guy doing?
Yes. Like the way he hand in his hand. Oh, sorry. Can we swear or no?
Yeah.
Right,
there's no money to demonetize.
Okay, good point. Hand in his pocket, and just with this look on his face, like he didn't care, or almost that he was enjoying. And that was times like that where someone's life is at stake. That's when I become less friendly. But other than that, yes, I always try and just hear people out and listen to what they have to say.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. What I've got one that I didn't do with Lilith, but I got a number of talking points I had with Lilith, and I wanted to get the friendly approach on them because
I like that, the friendly approach.
Because Lilith has a different experience to you, and she came out of a very fundamentalist sort of culture. And when I show her these things, she gets it's a good interview, let's put it that way. It's entertaining. Lilith is incredibly knowledgeable, and if you haven't had her on your channel, you really should, because
I will absolutely reach out, because I'll talk to almost anybody and everybody. Yeah,
she knows the Bible inside out. I mean, she knows all the stories. She's fantastic. But she will really go for it when I show her some of these cases. I know that all I've got to do is put up something vaguely provocative, and I can just sit back and let her go. It's great fun. But we've got some of those. But the first one was this one I came across this week, which said, Sumerians must have looked on in shock and confusion, some 6,000 years ago as God created heaven and earth. What do you think about that?
I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough to even understand that. If I'm being completely transparent with you, I got nothing.
I think what it's a comment on is that biblical timelines, as particularly young Earth creationists, have these timelines that just don't work with ancient civilizations.
Correct, because
the Sumerian civilization was kind of already there at the time when they say the Earth was created. It's a bit like the flood. If you look up when they say the flood happened, how comes all these civilizations around the world went on despite the fact that everybody had died in a flood?
Yeah, I've always wondered that same thing, and like how they try and explain that away. By the way, I'm sorry. Can you hear my cat right now? He is scratching at the door.
That's fine. I come into a non-cat part of the house, but last time I was on with Lilith, her cat was all over the place. It was walking behind her, then it was scratching to get out the door.
If I let him in, he'll stop scratching.
But he'll probably jump on the keyboard and sleep on it.
Yeah, probably.
So
I should say that when it comes to religion and biblical knowledge, it's as much as it is my area because I love talking religion. I do not know that much. I'm very new to this atmosphere, and I just literally, rather than taking the time to read a bunch, I just jumped on and started doing this. So I am right now playing the biggest game of catch up as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. I come from a different background, and I've been an atheist all my life. So
you're lucky. I wish I had a head start.
I guess I was about 6 or 8 years old at Sunday school, and I was kind of a precocious sort of kid. I used to read a lot of science books, and I had lots and lots of books about astronomy and things like that. And the person who was running the Sunday school started telling these sort of creation stories, and I thought, that just does not fit with what I've been reading in my astronomy books. And immediately I thought, the astronomy books make a lot more sense. And ever since that day, I've been an atheist. So, but I was one of those atheists who thought, now don't jump on this because somebody did, but you're going to be friendly anyway. But I just thought until probably about 5 or 6 years ago that religious people were just a bit soft in the head. And
expand on that? Like,
yeah,
I soft in the head.
I just thought they were nuts. They were, yeah.
No, it really is. Just they don't. I want to be careful, but many of them, not all of them. I want to be very clear there. They don't either have the critical thinking skills necessary, or they do, but they don't know how to apply them to their own beliefs. And
yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's the realization I've come to in the last 6 years, since I have actually been looking more into it and watching more atheist content and starting to get involved with doing my own atheist content. Prior to that, I really just thought, these guys are a bit nuts, just let them get on with it. And now I realize, like everybody else, they're just people. And
yes, that's it.
We all have mistaken beliefs. I can tell you a cognitive dissonance that I have. Okay? And I know it's a cognitive dissonance, but I can't deal with it. I've been mad about doing exercise my entire life.
Okay.
But I have a tendency to be a bit flabby.
Okay.
And I constantly think to myself, if I manage that next level on the cross trainer, if I can bench press a bit more weight, that flabbiness will go. And that's my irrational mind thinking that. And of course, my rational mind knows that I've got a tendency to be a bit flabby. So
you can get out of that though. It's see, a lot of people think it's just working out, but it's diet. Like, for example, I did a competitive strongman for several years. I was a lightweight, but it very much is what you put in, what you eat every day, how often you eat. It's not working out, in my opinion, is about 40% of it, maybe even 30% of it. The other, 60 to 70% is what you eat, and it's very, very important.
My rational mind knows that what you just said is eminently sensible and true. Okay, because I did about 2 years ago. I had 6 months where I just basically cut sugar out of the diet, and also a lot of carbs, and I gained a 6-pack. Thousands of sit-ups a day, good eating. Yeah, there was the 6-pack. But my mind that wants to eat chocolate and strawberry jam and things like that doesn't want to know about that.
No, that's true.
So even atheists can be completely irrational.
Oh yeah, I discovered that. At first, when I was in my angry atheist phase, I was content that all atheists are rational. They need to be like this. So it was jarring when I first started talking to more atheists that I didn't think were rational. It was like, okay, I need to understand the difference between atheist and skeptic now, and that's something I'm trying to focus on more.
Yeah, absolutely. But coming back to what we were actually talking about here, my take on it is that they come out with things like, well, there's flood myths from various places around the world. But what they miss is, according to the model that many of them have, the whole world was flooded. There were 8 people left alive.
Okay.
Who had these flood myths from all these different civilizations? How did those 8 people in this short amount of time become all these different civilizations? It's completely crazy. They talk about growth rates of population that are just not feasible for those 8 people, let alone all of the genetic problems they would have had. Just 8 people trying to populate the world.
And again, though, that's the problem. I don't think many of them actually understand that. And to me, that's why we need to be patient with them. They need to learn these things. They need to understand those things. They don't think about them. So again, that's why I think the patient approach versus the you're wrong approach just because of this is a better way.
Yeah, I think you're right with the average believer and a lot of people that I've seen you talking to. But then you've got the professional apologists who must know damn well that they're lying. And, if you go onto the AIG website, I was talking about population growth rates. You can actually find different population growth rates stated in different articles because it makes their point.
Really?
So there's one about who built the pyramids where they state a particular population growth rate because they know that they need to get from 8 people to however many million so that you can actually have an Egyptian civilization and 3 million Hebrew slaves and so on.
Right.
And they know that they need to get there in a couple of 100 years or whatever, so they state one growth rate there. Now, if that growth rate actually continued, there'd be more people on this planet than there are stars in the known universe.
Right.
So it's completely infeasible, but then in another article where they need a different growth rate, they just state a different growth rate. Now, they must know that they're lying. So those professional apologists know that they're lying.
It's possible they do, or it's possible they're, again, just so they're not actually investigating or not looking into their own beliefs. But I don't know. I could be completely wrong. They could know they're lying. I just would like to hope that they don't know they're lying.
Okay. The whole lying thing is why Robert says that he would push Frank Turek into moving traffic. That's the unfriendly approach. Anyway. Okay, we had a brief pause in recording there while Ethan let the cat in. He finally gave up to the cat's persistence.
He's the boss. I'm happy to show you him, but he definitely runs the house.
I saw him in one of your other videos because when you were talking to one guy, he said that he liked he liked dogs and he hated cats. I kind of like both, but
yeah,
cats is what we've got at the moment.
Too, yeah, I prefer cats, that's for sure. Cats better than dogs. End of story. Fight me on that one.
Yeah, I do like cats. My wife was very much a dog person growing up. She always had dogs. And she's really grown to like cats since we've been looking after cats. And we both tend to be out quite long hours during the week. So I think it's unfair to have a dog because dogs like your company. Whereas cats obviously like your company because your cat's just been scratching at the door to get in to be in your company. And, I find that when I come home, when I come home from work, they meet me at the door. And if I'm in the living room, they tend to come into the living room. And if I go into the bedroom, they follow me to the bedroom and so on. So they obviously like our company, cats. But I don't think they fret when we're out during the day. I think they curl up and sleep, probably most of it.
Yeah. Mine actually, whenever I'm streaming, that's the only time he's good. He will literally just lay next to me in his bed the entire time I'm streaming. And usually when I'm going to get ready to come stream, he comes running in before I shut the door and then just lays down, which I think is adorable.
I have to come into the back room to do my recording because I've got one cat. As soon as he hears somebody's voice on the computer, he wants to be on the computer.
Really?
So he ruins the recording every time if I'm in a part of the house that he can get to. So I come and lock myself in here. So, anyway, trying to get your reaction, the friendly reaction to some of some of these. The ones I looked at with Lilith, and one of them was masks off for Jesus.
Okay, so this one I shared on my personal Facebook because I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. This is one I have trouble addressing because it's like, come on, all right, you want to believe in God, great. You want to pray, great, that's fine. But you gotta exercise some common sense here. Taking your mask off for Jesus is ridiculous. That's the friendly answer. I'll say it's ridiculous.
I think that's... what would Jesus' reaction be? Now, personally, I'm a mythicist. I don't think there was even ever a Jesus. But let's just, for this, presuppose there was one. And, what would he actually be thinking here? Would he be thinking, look, you could have just worn a mask to protect yourself from this virus. Why should I have to come and protect you because you don't want to wear the mask?
I don't get that mentality because, one, if you believe in protecting others or if your religion teaches you to protect and love thy neighbor, then you should want to respect thy neighbor too and put your mask on. I don't see... Especially in America, people are viewing it as an attack on their rights. And it's this isn't an attack on your rights. Just don't be a jackass and just put the mask on. It's not hard. And I've seen people use asthma as an excuse. And I will say I can sympathize with that because I have asthma. And when it gets bad, the last thing you do want is a mask restricting that even more. But I think it's being used way too much, and I don't know. Just put the mask on.
Yeah, I'm an asthmatic too, and if you're that seriously asthmatic, I'm not. I take one puff of preventer a day. But if I was bad enough where I couldn't wear a mask because it made me feel that feeling you get when you get an attack. would I want a respiratory disease?
Would you want what? Oh
A
no, yeah, you would
respiratory
not want.
disease.
Not at all. No, definitely
No.
not.
So it does seem crazy. And the second picture there with the tombstone, I very crudely cut that in using paint.
Well, it's true. It's like, okay, if you're driving a car, do you take your seatbelt off and say seatbelts off for Jesus, or do you just put the seatbelt on? Like, it's pretty simple to me.
Yeah, I think Stephen Hawking was the person who actually said that he notices that even believers look both ways before they cross the road.
Yeah, I mean, you should. Yeah.
So
you should exercise some caution in whether you believe in God or not. You should exercise some caution in your everyday activities.
Yeah, absolutely. There was that woman, wasn't there, who drove her car, took the hands off the steering wheel, and just said, Jesus is in control of the car.
Or Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah, Jesus take the wheel.
Quoting, was it Carrie Underwood? Oh, wait a second, hang on. Was that Carrie Underwood? Yeah, Carrie Underwood. Okay, just had to verify.
Okay, what's the story? Because I only just sort of vaguely heard it.
Well, I don't know the story. I just recall this going up that she was saying, Jesus, take the wheel, and she took her hands off. I don't remember the entire story, though. I literally only remember it because it was a song.
Okay. So following on from that one, we had the pastor. There's been plenty of them, hasn't there? But this one was in the Cameroon. And he claimed that he could cure the coronavirus. He's doing a bit of faith healing. And then he died.
I'll flat out say, he's clearly lying. And that is where I draw a line. Like, these people that they're selling magical waters and cure-alls, like, they're terrible human beings, period. And they need to be held accountable for their actions. But it is terrible that he died. Like, I know people like to laugh at things like that, but I really don't find it funny when any human being dies. Like, to me, life is far too precious to laugh at something like that.
Yeah, this is the only life any of us know that we get.
Exactly, which is why we need to enjoy it and respect it.
Yeah, and that's sometimes what I don't get when theists say that, why do we value life? Well, because this is the only one we get. If they think that they get an eternity, it's. I saw a thing the other day on YouTube, and it was the 10 craziest planets that we've discovered so far, the 10 craziest exoplanets. Mm-hmm. And one of them was a planet that was basically made of diamond. And, and they were saying, but if you could, cover the interstellar distances to mine it, it wouldn't be worth it, because all you would do is flood the diamond population on Earth, or the amount of diamond we have, and therefore it wouldn't be worth anything. And so if you have an infinite amount of life, why is any part of it precious?
I agree with you there, and that's why I would say, it's my opinion that we either do or should value life way more. And and that's where areas I get. This is totally going to go off into an ADHD ADHD tangent, but I get so frustrated when I see certain Christians and theists like, that person should be killed for what they did, or they're cheering on the death penalty. And it's like, you're supposed to be, you claim Jesus was this superior, great person, helpful and loving, and you're now calling for the death of another person. Like, I'm sorry, I don't get behind that. When I was a Christian, I was for the death penalty. Now, as an atheist, I'm adamantly against the death penalty, because to me, education is the way to go. Education and awareness is the way to go. And really does frustrate me when I see people that just disregard human life so easily. It's frustrating. It's sad. It angers me.
Yeah, but that's pretty much the penalty for everything in the Bible, isn't it?
That's true. Just, I don't know. We should be teaching forgiveness, actual forgiveness, like letting things go, rather than vengeance. Like, focus on justice, not vengeance.
Okay, so in your opinion, what would be the penalty, since you're from Chicago, what would be the penalty for somebody putting tomato ketchup on a hot dog?
Okay, that person should spend the rest of their life in jail. Like, you just don't do it. I do know the penalty if you go to Gene and Jude's and ask for, in Chicago, and you ask for ketchup, they literally kick you out of the building. So, in Chicago, we take our food very seriously. We fight over that stuff.
That's good. So, yeah, last thing on this one, we had Paula White, didn't we? Asking for $91 for Psalm 91. People to send her $91. It's just...
Yeah, it's just, again, people like that need to be held accountable because they're just outright lying. They're stealing people's money, and it's not right. And that's also why I want to find a way to do more. I loved what James Randi would do when he would go around and investigate and debunk these people, like Peter Popoff. Like, I want to do this with those type of people because maybe I could be living under a rock, but I don't think I've seen anyone really doing that, like, out in the news lately. Am I wrong? Are there people still doing that?
I don't know. I have to admit that I do not know. I've seen reporters talking to people like Kenneth Copeland and asking him, why he's wearing such an expensive suit and stuff like that. And he just says, I'm a very wealthy man, but he blew the coronavirus away, didn't he?
People like that are just, they're jerks. They really are. Like, how are you going to take people's money and lie about it? It's a horrible thing to do. And those are the type of people where I would love to have a friendly conversation with.
Yeah, take Robert along with you. He's pretty handy in a friendly conversation.
No, that crap needs to be. It's almost like it's getting a resurgence. And at least in America, it feels like just all these essential oils and I guess I shouldn't say spiritualists. I should say psychics and mediums. So I feel like there needs to be people countering that much better. So that is something I would like to move on to doing is, a mini documentary series on things like that.
Yeah, that would be good. And we need somebody doing that. I don't know if you've come across a channel called Thunderfoot. I haven't seen much from Thunderfoot in recent times, but he did a lot of scientific debunks. And if you must have seen the Great Debate channel. Is it Great Debates? They have lots of different debates on, and I watched one the other day, and it was somebody talking about creationism versus evolution, and the guy had all of his talking points down, and he got them from a source. And somebody in the side chat said Thunderfoot debunked every single one of his points over 10 years ago. And you can go to his channel and find a debunk of every single one of them. It was good. It's like Kent Hovind when he always talks about the flood, and he just mixes up the stuff and it settles in layers, and so layers form really quickly. And he actually did it. He actually got a tank and he put some different stuff in and he mixed it up, and he showed that what Kent Hovind's saying just does not work, and he tried it in various ways. So he used to actually just put their stuff to the test. And yeah, we need somebody else doing that type of stuff. Maybe with the psychics and things like that.
No, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, somebody contemporary, somebody like yourself coming in and doing that could be really good.
Yeah, hopefully I can pull it off.
But you can always enlist the help of experts, people who know their stuff. As you get more and more access.
If there's any experts that want to help out with this this venture, hey, I could use it.
Yeah, you've got access to people. You've spoken to people like Eric Murphy and Vila Bianca, and they've got contacts and they can get the word out. So
no, that's true. I don't like. I don't know. I don't want to be the guy asking for favors or anything. Like I would just rather put the word out and be like, hey, if anyone's interested, this is what I want to do. Let's do it together. But I feel bad asking people.
Yeah, sometimes you have to. I asked you to come on here.
Well, okay. Asking for an interview versus asking for help with a big project, two totally different things. I've so far asked for all my interviews for the most part too. So
yeah. You'll find somebody. If you look at the side chat in many, many discussions, there's all sorts of knowledgeable people there.
Yeah, I'm learning that quickly, that in this community, there are a lot of people who know what they're talking about. I will say, who continues to surprise me? Well, I shouldn't say surprise me, but one half of Divine Disbelief, Nathaniel, man, that guy knows so much. And he's always like, well, I don't know that much. I don't know why you speak highly of me. I'm like, because you know a lot of shit, man. Like, he's just like, and he's fast and he's on point. He's an exciting person to listen to.
That's something called the imposter effect. When you know a lot about something, you kind of understand what you don't know about it as well. So people who are experts often talk down their expertise.
Yeah, because he does that. He's like, no, I don't know that much. I don't know why I've earned this. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know why you've earned this? You know what you're talking about.
So it's kind of the opposite thing to the Dunning-Kruger effect. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is where people who are completely ignorant of things think they know lots. So the classic case of Dunning-Kruger would be somebody like Ray Comfort or Kent Hovind. They're complete ignoramuses, but they think they know about all sorts of stuff. And you get one of them talking to somebody like Jackson Wheat. Do you know Jackson?
I do not.
So
I don't know. I am just now learning the names in the community. Like, for example, the extent of I can tell you the list of names I knew only 2 months ago. It was Jenna Belk, Matt Dillahunty, Vila Bianca, Eric Murphy, Jamie Boone. Who am I missing? I think that's the extent of all the names. Because that's all I watched was Talk Heathen and AXP. So I'm just now, people throw these names out and I'm like, I have no idea who you're talking about. I'm literally new to all of this.
So Jackson's just about to graduate in biology and go on to do his PhD. And he's already written a book. It's called The Rocks Were There. And you get the play on that, The Rocks Were There, because Ken Ham's always saying you weren't there. They're saying The Rocks Were There. And he wrote that with R.J. Downard, who's a very, very smart guy. And Jackson will say, I'm not an expert. Okay, he's just got his first degree, but Jackson knows a hell of a lot of stuff. If you go and have a look at his channel, it's serious biology. It's very, very complicated stuff. He did one on the coronavirus, and he really explained about viruses and about coronaviruses in particular. He really, really knows his stuff. And if you ask him, he'll say, oh, I'm not an expert. I don't know. But he knows so much more than somebody like Ken Hovind, who would claim to know everything. And so you've got the imposter effect at one end and you've got the Dunning-Kruger effect at the other end.
Can you hear that background noise right now?
A little bit, yeah.
Hang on.
Is that purring?
No. It was the next door neighbor mowing the grass. Can you still hear it?
Because I've got a cat that purrs that loud.
No, my cat purrs, but not that loud.
So, next one is the how atheists see the future and how Christians see it. And the second version of that is the one that, again, I used paint to very badly put in the picture of The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, it's
But
okay. Imagine it's like every time children are born, they're just taught that, hey, the world's going to end someday in this really bad way, and all these bad things are going to happen. And it's like, stop teaching that. Stop. Like, the world is not about to end. We need to stop teaching that fear to people. It's been, what, 2,000 years, and it hasn't ended yet. So, I don't know. I think they need to let go of that idea, because if we actually start working together, we can have that ideal future. Like, our religion has religion has held us back way too much. Like, just imagine how much further we would be off as a society, technologically, if religion wasn't around. It would be a big difference, in my opinion.
yeah, that opens up a whole can of worms there. So
That's why it's in my opinion.
yeah, it does. It opens up so much. We could probably talk for hours about just this. So Aaron Ra, on one of his interviews that I was that I was listening to, said that he had a neighbour who never cut the grass or mended the fence or did anything around the house because they thought the world was going to end anytime soon. So there was no point in doing those jobs. Yeah. So
Yeah, we can't live like that. Like, that's no way to live, to sit there and think the world's going to end. Like, that's just a horrible mindset to have, in my opinion.
yeah, there was a film with Bill Maher. I forget what it was called now. Oh, Religulous.
Haven't
Bill
seen
Maher. You must watch it. It's really good. And he's having an interview with somebody, a congressman or a senator or somebody, and asks them about their belief in God. And he then says to them, if you think that the world's going to end soon and that this place doesn't matter, it's just a staging point for what comes beyond, what motivation do you have to make lives better for people here? And I think that's a big point. You know, in the US in particular, we've actually had an atheist prime minister here in Australia, openly
that is
atheist.
awesome.
Well, it would have been if she'd done a good job, but she didn't. But but we have had one, you know. So people's religious beliefs doesn't necessarily influence whether they can get elected here or not. But in the US, it seems to be almost a prerequisite to get elected, certainly in some states, to be religious. Well, if you have this view that the world's going to end and this place doesn't matter, why would you vote for somebody like that? Don't we want somebody who's actually going to fix things here and now? Not like the guy who wouldn't mend his fence or mow his lawn. We want somebody who's actually going to try and make the lives of people better.
Yes.
As an example, during this COVID, now we're not too bad here in Australia, and most people are back to work now, and even more people are going back to work in a few weeks' time. We have virtually no cases. Certainly no cases that haven't come from abroad.
Really?
Yeah. We've virtually licked it down here, especially over here in the West. The most isolated city on Earth is Perth. The nearest city to us in Perth isn't even in Australia. So, yeah, because Australia is a massive place and not many people live here.
Yeah.
But I actually completely forgotten what my point was. Do you remember what I was saying?
Oh, that happens to me all the time.
Oh, I've got it. I'm back there. Universal basic income. So universal basic income. I know it's one of these trigger points for some people, and that there would be problems with it. But a lot of very smart people, including, I heard the other day, David Frum, who was on Sam Harris's podcast. So he was an advisor to, I think, Bush and so on, and he's now a journalist and so on. And he was saying that he can see all sorts of problems with UBI but that he's actually become more in favour of it over the years. What price UBI now? If everybody was getting UBI, people would be worried about how they're going to live when their jobs disappeared.
So no, and this okay, and I want to be clear. I could there's a lot of information out there, and obviously there could be things I'm missing. But in my opinion, we would be much better off. Like the underprivileged, the people really struggling would be able to spend that money. They'd be able to pump it back into the economy. I think businesses would grow. I think we'd be a much healthier civilization if we had UBI. But again, I'm more of a optimist, so I could just be hoping that that's the best outcome. I could definitely be wrong.
Ethan, I know that you didn't come from a fundamentalist background at all, and you were saying that you were just, going through the motions in many ways. Sorry?
I did come from a heavy conservative background, but I wouldn't say a heavy fundamentalist background.
No. But when I showed these pictures to Lilith, particularly the one where I've photoshopped in the Handmaid's Tale, she was immediately, off on a rant, because she's come from that sort of background where people actually want to see Levitical law and stuff like that actually imposed on other people. And I'm just wondering, if it worries you that we've got somebody like Mike Pence as the vice president, and some of the close advisors to Donald Trump are extremely right wing. And
does it worry me? Yes, it worries.
Yeah.
Donald Trump worries me very, very much. I feel like the worst thing I could do would be talk politics and religion, but I guess what the hell. So to me,
we can't spend the whole time talking about cats on here.
Yeah.
I know we probably could, but we have to hit religion and politics.
I could talk about my cat all day. He's adorable. He's just sitting right here listening to me.
Stop dodging. Come back to the politics.
All right, look, a lot of people will be like, all right, cite which policies you don't like about Trump. Okay. Right now, let's pretend for a second that every policy he has is the greatest. The economy is the greatest ever. So I got to get used to doing the opposites on camera. Let's just for the sake of argument, let's assume that everything is the greatest, like he says. He's a bully and he's a jackass. And all you have to do is watch him on Twitter or watch him answer questions for 30 minutes. And that right there, in my opinion, is more than enough reason not to vote for the man, even if everything he was doing was indeed great. So yeah, no, I think he's just a no. And Mike Pence, we cannot. That's the scariest part, is if something happens to Donald Trump, that Pence will step up. And that guy, if I recall, he's one of those people that is actually ignorant enough to believe that you can pray the gay away. Like, that's just like, who thinks like that? It's 2020. You don't pray the gay away. That's ridiculous. So yes, it does terrify me, genuinely.
Yeah, I've made this point in a few of my videos, actually. I did a bit of a search around about homosexuality throughout the animal kingdom. And in mammals, it's hugely prevalent. And in fact, apparently giraffes are the gayest of all animals. And yeah, homosexual sex is actually more common in giraffes than heterosexual sex.
Really?
Yes. I don't know who actually did the study. So, and in primates, it runs at about 10%. And I can tell you for a fact that although I know quite a few gay people, 10% of the people that I know who move in my circles are not openly homosexual. I've actually got a nephew who's in his 40s now and has never come out. So it just seems to me that social pressures, and a lot of those come from religion,
Right.
are stopping people being who they are, and that can't be good for the
Yeah.
mental health of our
Yeah.
society.
No, yeah, very, very much. And it's terrible that it's still going on. Like, I find it frustrating that there are children right now struggling and can't come out um just because of their overly religious parents. Like that does piss me off. And hopefully we can continue to spread awareness and get people to stop thinking like that. It's just not it's not a way to live. It's not a way to treat other people. And to quote someone else, people that act like that, I have no problem saying I'm morally superior. I did steal that quote.
Yeah, in your subjective view.
In my subjective worldview, but according to the presuppositionalist I debated, how do I know? I don't. So
No. Well, yeah. How do we know? Well, we know because we tend to go through life without, accidentally chopping off our hands and all sorts of stuff, and walking into moving cars and so on. That's how we know.
that's the hardest thing with a presuppositionalist is the way. How do you know? Are you absolutely certain that you know how you know? It's like, wait, what? Like, really? Can we just have a conversation and not go back and forth about knowing about not knowing about knowing about knowing? Like, come on.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, they're just on a script.
Yeah.
And what you've got to do is try and knock them off the script. And I think that people like Eric Murphy and Matt Dillahunty have put a bit of thought into how to knock them off the script. And when you see them phone Talk Heathen or the Atheist Experience now, they get them straight off the script. And once they're off the script, they don't know what to say.
They get angry. No, they just get mad.
Yeah. So the last point on that one, I guess it's part of the next one as well, is Trump has appointed something like 196, nearly 200 judges since he's been in the White House. And most of them are right-wing, conservative, Christians.
Of course.
And almost all of them, according to Lilith, I haven't actually looked into this, are unqualified for the jobs they're doing. I think I've seen a couple of those sort of cases in the papers as well, where they've done ridiculous things. Yeah, is that a worry?
I mean, absolutely. Anyone that is going to appoint that many in that short a period of time, I especially when they're conservative Christians, freak me out because, and I want to be clear, I'm not talking about all of them, but a lot of them, I feel like I could say this because I used to be one, but they don't actually consider or think about everything that comes out of their mouth. They just start blurting things out. And I don't remember where I was going with this, but oh, yeah.
We're as bad as each other.
So it's just so hard. I do get more frustrated with them because I feel like since I used to think like them, I know why they're thinking that way. So it becomes a little more frustrated because I just want to like grab them and be like, okay, you're missing this right here. I just need to like get in this little spot. It's this thing called compassion. Turn it on and start thinking about things because they'll just blurt stuff out without thinking about it. And overall, that's why they worry me, is because they don't think about things they say and they don't think about the actions that come with the things they say. It's like they just keep blah, 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 kind of like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I think that they lack the appreciation. Maybe they don't. I'm not sure they like it in every aspect of their lives. But if we make the world better for other people, it automatically becomes better for us.
Yep.
And that's the way I see it. So
I agree.
So in my own small ways, I try to go through life, not making situations worse for people. And if I can, I tend to help out.
I feel the same. I would much rather go through life helping people out.
So our next little talking point actually just follows on from that. And there's a part of a tweet from me where I say it's all freedom of religion until they get control. Then there'll be no freedom. It'll be the Dark Ages, but with video surveillance and assault weapons. And then there's a reply from Skeleton Key and one from Mindshift podcast. Now, Dr. Clint Haycock from the Mindshift podcast was one of my guests a few weeks ago. And his podcast is quite compelling. He's very much into this idea that dominionists are gaining control. And with having somebody like Pence as vice president, there's a fair bit of evidence behind this, that they've got this whole homeschooling movement going where they don't let the kids actually get, science.
Right.
And sometimes even, math. And they're hammering the Bible into them, and then they're sending them off into the world to try and, get into politics and into education and all these places where they can have influence over the course of the future. And personally, I find that worrying. So, think back to the picture of The Handmaid's Tale and that becoming a reality at some stage. So,
I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're moving in a positive direction, albeit really slow. I wish it would move a lot faster, but I personally think we are moving in the right direction.
So do you think that this Trump presidency is going to end up being a blip in the graph?
Would you mean, is he going to get reelected?
No. I mean, so let's imagine a graph where we're going steadily upwards in terms of things are getting better. And obviously books like The Better Ages of Our Nature, a lot of Steve Pinker's work indicates that things are getting better and that we live in the best times that have ever been. So people like Trump and the sort of people that he's appointing actually want us to move backwards, if you like. So
yeah, I agree that they want us to move backwards.
Yeah. So do you think that'll be a blip in the graph, and there'll be a reaction to the Trump presidency in future?
I think, sadly, and I want to be very clear, I don't want him to get reelected, but I do think he's going to get reelected. And it sucks. I'll obviously still be voting, and I will not be voting for him. But, sometimes things do get set back. The important thing is to just keep fighting so you can move things forward. So I would like to think after Trump's 8 years that we'll hopefully get a better president and go back to moving things forward.
Yeah, I think in a country of how many people in the US? 300 million or so?
Give me 2 seconds. There is 328 million.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that Joe Biden's the best person to run against Trump when you've got all those people to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, that's just another headache. Like, come on, can we please get rid of these old white dudes and get some fresh blood in here for once? Like, seriously? Because the thing is, people are like, Republicans are like, Biden, he's such a liberal, he's this. No, he's actually still pretty conservative. He's a more liberal than Trump, obviously, but we need a more progressive choice, in my opinion. We need a younger choice. I am tired of these people with their outdated ideas. There are so many things we could be doing better. We need fresh blood.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Oh, well, I've only got another couple of talking points. And this one was about the Iranian man being arrested for not fasting during Ramadan. And, is that the sort of world that we want, where there's blasphemy laws and things like that?
No,
or do we just want to progress?
want to progress. It's ridiculous that somebody would be arrested for something, for not fasting during Ramadan. That's crazy. Um, but I will say I do have some Muslim friends, and I can adamantly say they would not agree with that happening. Um, not even close. I actually did. My colleague is Muslim, and he's one of the most peaceful people I've ever met. He's got very progressive views. He's very understanding. And he asked me, he's like, you say you're open minded. Would you observe one day of Ramadan with me? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I did it twice. The first time I did it, I fasted with no. I'm sorry, I fasted, but I still had water. And then the second time, I fasted without the water. And let me say, that was tough. That was really tough. And it was about halfway through the day. I was like, yeah, I need water. I can't do this to my body. So I was like, sorry, man. I did what I could, but I drank a lot. I mean, I always have water right by me, and I'm
Yeah.
constantly drinking it. I can't do that.
Yeah. I just think, yeah, these regimes, they are going against the will of many of the people.
Oh yeah, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying
Yeah.
that people act like this or still think like this.
Yeah. I saw a video on Twitter about a week or so ago of a woman walking along without a head covering, and a man walked past her, and he turned around and followed her and then kicked her to the ground. And just for not wearing a head covering. She got up and she gave him as good as she got, but this just shouldn't happen.
No,
People
it
need
really
to people need to be tolerant of other people's beliefs.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the friendly approach.
That is the friendly approach. I love that you're calling it the friendly approach. I am totally gonna be using that. I want to get that as a shirt made. The friendly approach.
The friendly approach. Okay. I'll give you a BSB where you can send the royalties.
We'll split it, okay? You came up with the idea, we'll split it.
And the last one, 63% of Americans haven't got a clue about their religion or COVID-19.
Actually, I believe that. It's not surprising at all, because most of I don't know jack shit about the Bible. I read it many years ago, but I find it odd that even I know more than some of my Christian friends. It's like guys, come on, this is your religion, and I'm an idiot, and I know more than you. Like, come on, like, read it. You're gonna talk about it. You're gonna participate in it. Then you better know about it. So,
yeah. I think I probably know more about the Bible now than I did 6 years ago, 8 years ago. When I didn't really care about religion. Obviously, I never even bothered with it. But I know enough now to point them towards, shall we say, to cherry pick the bad verses.
right.
Because they're always cherry picking the good ones. I know enough to cherry pick the bad ones to give them in response. A number of which are actually known forgeries as well. So, for example, all the stuff that the snake handlers, the Appalachian snake handler type
yes.
evangelicals, it's pretty well known that those verses that talk about that are actually forged, and they weren't in earlier versions. And the 1 Timothy 12, which I often use, which is the one where women mustn't speak in church, she's got to be silent. So basically, shut up, woman. The men are in charge. That's also but that's also known to be a forgery and put in much later.
Really?
Yeah.
That I did not know.
Yeah. So there's all sorts of forgeries and stuff in the Bible, let alone all the scribal errors. And if you want to watch a good debate, watch the one with Bart Ehrman and Daniel Wallace, where they're talking about the Gospels and can we be confident about what the Gospels say. And obviously Bart Ehrman's in the no camp. We can't be, because he's talking about scribal errors and forgeries and all these things. But he harps on about the scribal errors and the fact that we know scribal errors have happened because we've got various versions that we can put side by side and see that there's extra bits in there or mistakes and things like that. And as you go back further in time, when scribes were less and less trained, there are more and more errors. So the printing press doesn't come around till about, 1100, 1200? So they couldn't actually print these things for the first just over 1,000 years. So if you wanted a copy, somebody wrote the copy out.
Right.
And there were errors, particularly more in the early days. So that's without people like Eusebius, who actually, directly put extra stuff in there to make his theology the one that went forward. And lots of people have been doing that. So Ehrman pointed all these things out, and Daniel Wallace was just like, no, we can tell. And according to the audience, he won the debate because they were saying, Bart Ehrman was saying, we don't know. But to me, that was the correct position. We simply don't know.
Exactly. People need to be okay with that answer. I'm comfortable with it. I don't know shit. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there. There's lots and lots and lots of things I don't know, and I don't know. You've made this point. You used to believe in God because you used to say, "I don't know, therefore God," and then you realised, "I don't know" was a good reason to say, "I don't know. Bring me some evidence."
Yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna stick in this position of I don't know until I see something. I find reasonable, I guess would be the best way to put it, because I'll no longer say, I watched a video by Hemant Mehta, and he's like, atheists, stop saying extraordinary evidence. You just need evidence. I'm like, all right, yeah, that's true.
Well, if you listen to somebody like Matt Dillahunty, he'll say the Bible is evidence, it's just not good evidence.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah.
The Bible is evidence for what, exactly?
Well, the Bible is evidence that the Bible exists, I guess.
Exactly, and that's it. Like, for example, my stepfather, when he found out I was an atheist. So, all right. So to be clear, my stepdad is Hispanic, so he has a very, very strong accent. So when he finds out, he's like, "What the hell's is this no believing in God bullshit?" And I'm like, "What, Dad? You heard me. What is this shit?" I'm like, "What do you mean? You need proof? I got your proof right here. Look at your nephew. He is proof of God." I'm like, "Okay, Dad, that's not proof at all. That's proof that my nephew exists, or that's proof that my brother can have the cutest kid on earth. That's not proof for God." But he doesn't understand that.
Anyway, we've been going for over an hour now, Ethan, and I'm mindful of your time and the fact I've actually got things on today. So distance education is my thing. So actually, COVID's not been bad for me. I've actually got a few online lessons later. So I've got to get going for those. But thank you so much for joining me.
Of course, thank you. Hey, thank you for having me. Like I was, although I did say to you before, like I'll pretty much say yes to almost anyone. It's still awesome. Like when you asked me, I was like, hell yeah, I'll do this. Like it's exciting. So like, because for so long I was searching for people to talk to and nobody wanted to talk to me. So now people are like, want to talk to me. I'm like, yeah, sweet.
Maybe we'll do another one. I could come to you and we could talk about a couple of your conversations that I've watched. I've watched the SJ one, for example. And I've watched a couple of others, and perhaps we could talk about that over on your channel.
You are the door is open. Let's figure out a date, or maybe we can have you on one of the roundtables. I'm starting the 3rd. I'll be doing atheist roundtables every single week. So,
all right, okay,
yeah. So we'll definitely bring you on for a conversation, a friendly conversation.
Yes, obviously. And I shall wait for the checks to arrive from the Friendly Approach.
Yes, there we go. But they might get lost in the mail going to Australia, so...
Well, if the next time I see you, you're a bit more blinged up. Oh, no.
Now, just for that, the next time you see me, I'm going to make sure I have a chain and some additional bling.
Anyway, thanks very much again. I'll see you again soon.
Thanks for having me. All right, sounds good.